Let's get it cracking. Let's start the session. March list the competition, balls by that action. You can never debate it. This is actual fact. Stephen A. and Max Scale said they say it's a rap. I'm like, say what? Say what? What's up with all my haters? I'm a ball when I perform. So my jersey's in the air. I'm allergic to my haters. Every morning I prepare. Lot of clothes I can wear just like them Oregon players. Yeah, quack, quack. What it do? Rap like it's nothing to it. Matter of fact, you can ask hard and I'm cooking too. Bass dog cooking too. Nah, look at you. Great mind. They embrace mine like a crooked too. 4 takes, that's you. 3 takes, not me. 2 takes if you lucky. First take, stop me. 4 takes, that's you. 3 takes, not me. 2 takes if you lucky. First take, got me.
It's hump day, first take on a Wednesday, folks. Thank you so much for joining us. Max Kellerman, Steve Smith, I'm Molly Kara.
I'm doing what's going on.
You're revved up. I just heard you.
I don't know. Well, listen, I'm always revved up. I don't like the implication that I'm ready to go.
Yeah, you're always on.
Now, listen,
always ready.
I'm not ready to go at 7:30 in the morning. I'll be the first to admit that. All right. I'm certainly not ready to go when Thanksgiving you got 25 kids around just driving you crazy.
Still talking about
you're not ready to go.
Stop saying
Thanksgiving.
You know when he's not ready to go? He's not ready to go when he's traveling to the West Coast, and we got, by his time, a 4:30 a.m. conference
That's
call.
the best when we call you in the conference call. It's like, hello, hello. I'm like, where is this man right now? What is happening right now on the other end of that phone call?
But there are palm trees outside with sunshine.
You're not complaining, right?
I think I'm going to be all right. I think I'm going to be all right. I think I'm going to be all right.
Speaking of the West Coast, actually, they were playing on the East Coast. Doc Rivers with the classic hold me back moment in BK. Rivers was handed a second technical foul and an automatic ejection for his tirade that followed the Clippers' 127-122 double OT loss to the Nets. His first technical came after walking almost to the Nets bench to argue a foul call as the Clippers trailed by 2 late in the first OT. What's up, Doc?
Well, I thought it was awful tech. You know, honestly, I think you guys know why the tech was called. The official who had nothing to do with the play thought I was yelling at Lauren, and I wasn't. You know, we were actually, she said, Doc, you're right or whatever, let's walk back. We were walking. We weren't even arguing. So it was the damnedest tech to give at that time. And, you know, what the league's going to do, they're going to fall back on he crossed half court. That's you see tomorrow, that's what they're going to say. And we're going to all know that that's not the real reason. I don't think an official that has nothing to do with the play should be giving someone a tech. That's my thing. That's why I got upset. He didn't know what we were talking about, and it wasn't even an argument. So, but listen, that had nothing to do with the game, and that's not why we lost the game.
The Clippers start off 10-1, and now after losing 3 in a row, they're 4-4 in their last 8. Stephen A., let's get into our feelings.
Yes.
How do we feel about what we're seeing from the Clippers right now?
Well, I don't feel very good because what I'm seeing is the same old Clippers. Certainly Doc Rivers going off. That's an entirely different thing. I think that a lot of people get on Doc Rivers as the coach. I don't get on him as the coach. I think Doc Rivers is an excellent coach. I think he's exceptional and he's a champion and he's a master motivator. His record as a GM has not been the greatest because there have been times where you needed to build that bench, which I believe he went out and did this offseason. I like the acquisition of Spates. I like a Raymond Felton and guys like that on this squad. I think that they bring an added dimension to the team because it contributes to the depth. What I'm looking for from the Clippers, however, here's the problem. What did I try to tell you, Max? You know what I'm saying? I know you got Golden State, but at the same time, we talked about the Clippers. And what did I sit up there and say to you, Max Kellerman? I said, look, man, I got to see it to believe it. I know Blake Griffin could play. Chris Paul, I mean, you want a quintessential prototypical point guard. I want Chris Paul to be the leader on my team. DeAndre Jordan, it would really be nice for you to make free throws. It would really, I mean, I'm touched. You're 21st in the league in free throw shooting, and I have no doubt that DeAndre Jordan has something to do with that. I just think that's safe to say. I think that
ship has sailed. His free throw ship has sailed.
I just think that it's safe to say. It's safe to say. Having said all of that, what I'm seeing is what I told you when everybody was getting all excited, talking about their best team in the NBA. Look at their start right now. I'm like, pump the brakes, it's early. And what happens? The loss to Detroit. A loss by 21 to the Indiana Pacers. And now you lose in double overtime to the Brooklyn Nets. Who plays on the Nets? I cover the if y'all don't even know who plays on the Nets. I mean, that's how bad it is. I mean, when I think about it, are you kidding me? Jeremy Lin. Yeah, I forgot he was there. I mean, it's the Nets, for crying out loud. I think they're on a come up. Sean may do a good job eventually, but I'm just saying, I'm just looking at him. Sean Marks, I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm just looking at them. And I'm saying,
if it wasn't for the Sixers, the Nets would be the story.
So having said that, maybe you're trying to motivate them for the game against the Cleveland Cavaliers, who usually smack them around from time to time, or whatever the case may be. I had to cover that game for radio last year when the Clippers hosted the Cavs, and the Cavs smoked them last year. But in the end, what it comes down to is that these are the Clippers. They're good, they're talented, but their talent level, their record doesn't live up to their talent level. And I'm not talking about record in terms of wins and losses. I'm talking about the type of losses that they have, and when they suffer those losses, this talent is too good for that to happen, but it keeps happening. It's the latest example right now.
I have a different take on this. First of all, let me say, before I say this, that Doc Rivers is a great coach, and that I love basketball. Really, I love the NBA more than basketball, to tell you the truth.
Okay.
I love the NBA.
Basketball is your second love, the way boxing is mine.
Right, exactly. No. And Doc Rivers has forgotten more basketball than I'll ever know. Let me just preface that, okay? Right. And now let me say this. What we saw yesterday, and he addressed the tech on TV, that's the issue with the Clippers right now. Because in the NBA, in a best of 7, the best team always wins. Now, I picked them as the team most likely to upset the apple cart. I don't think they will, because they're not as good as the Warriors. In a best of 7, the Warriors will beat them. And right now, they're not even as good as the Spurs, as usual. Popovich is working his magic, even with the retirement of Duncan, and they're the Spurs. But the Clippers are going to be very, very good. They're going to be a top 4 seed in the West. It's not beyond the realm of possibility that they could beat the Warriors, but they're going to need every single thing to go their way, including, and maybe especially, Stephen A., what? The refs' whistles. They need those calls. And when you think about the Clippers, they are not a liked team. They're a disliked team. They're disliked by other teams and players on other teams. They're disliked around the league. And they're disliked by officials. And when Doc is at war with the officials, what he's doing is setting up a situation heading into the playoffs, because in the NBA, we all know who's going to the playoffs, especially the elite teams. No one's arguing Clippers ain't going to be in the playoffs.
Right.
And heading in there, the officials are unlikely to blow the whistle in their favor, and much more likely to look the other way when that should happen and blow the whistle in the opponent's favor. And given that they're simply not as good as the Warriors, and maybe not the Spurs, that is the exact opposite of what they need. So I prefaced it by saying Doc Rivers forgot more basketball than I ever know. I understand that. But Doc, I think, has to ask himself. He has to weigh this stuff, where on the one hand, he's fighting for his team and being fiery and all that stuff. And on the other hand, he has to ask himself, what kind of culture do I want to create around the team, at least as it's perceived by the rest of the league, and especially the officials? And is it worth, in the moment, getting heated at the officials over a tech I don't think should be called? Or do I need to pull back a little bit to give my guys the best chance to win?
Your argument, you make valid points, but I would say that last night isn't the one to make it off of. He had every right to explode the way that he did. You are an official. You have no business calling a technical foul and ejecting a coach from the game because he's talking to another official when you have no knowledge of what they're talking about. You don't get to make that assumption. You sort of usurped the authority that is bestowed upon the official that's in presence of the coach at that particular moment. Whoever that official was overstepped his bounds, and Doc Rivers was absolutely right to call him out on it. However, here's where it gets interesting. Covering the league, as I do, and you always pause because you know where I'm going in terms of when I'm telling you information.
Just so people know, hold on, just so people know, and sometimes you got to read between the lines with Stephen A.
Right.
He's telling you things, so stick to a point. I'm like, wait a minute, that doesn't make it. He talked to people.
Now, in this case, I'll just put it out there. There have been complaints over the last year. Mm-hmm. The combination of Doc Rivers and Chris Paul, as elite as I believe both are, they do rake officials' nerves. They talk a lot and are perceived as complaining a lot. I don't know because I'm not always sitting actually courtside. I'm usually standing, you know, in a tunnel or whatever the case is. I don't like sitting down during the games. So my point is that I'm not always at the scorer's table per se. But you get, not that that's the only place you can complain with an official, but Chris Paul and Doc Rivers do have a reputation of really raking the officials' nerves. The officials have said privately, and it has disseminated throughout the NBA, that those two individuals beat up on officials a lot verbally. If that is true, then that speaks to your point as to what kind of impact they can have. But I will tell you this, when I watch the Clippers, I don't see them devoid of a championship because of officiating.
Right.
I see them devoid of it because of free throw shooting on the part of DeAndre Jordan, an offense where you got a shooting guard in J.J. Redick that can shoot 45% from three-point range the way that he is right now, but defensive lapses at the wrong time, mistakes at the wrong time on the offensive end of the floor, and dudes like Blake Griffin, who's an absolute star, but when you need him to step up to that elevated level where it ain't about the numbers, it's about the moment, there are times where we find ourselves saying, yo, Blake, where you at?
But I agree with all that. And really, even with all that, it's really just the existence of the Warriors in their conference that really eliminates them from moving on. But when you look at what Doc has here, they have continuity. They've played together for a bunch of years. They have two legit superstars. They have another all-star. They have a deeper bench than they've had in recent years. They have a great coach. They have a major market. They have a team-friendly owner. They have every single thing going for them. Still probably not good enough to get past the Warriors, but that's why I'm saying Doc has to ask himself, am I giving us the best possible chance to win? Or is he and Chris Paul, are they letting their competitiveness get the better of them and not picking and choosing?
Or are they whining too much?
I'm not bringing Chris Paul in as part of this equation because I've seen Chris Paul judiciously go about the business of working the ref.
Right,
ref 1 minute, you know, or the other minute he's quiet and he's performing. Not to mention the fact that he shows up in big moments. What I would ask you to consider is this. What's a bigger issue here? To me, it sounds like your biggest issue is Doc needing to ask himself that question you just said he should ask. To me, the biggest issue is, yo, Blake, we know you a star. What's up? Now, last year he was hurt, so please, I'm not holding him accountable for that. But Blake Griffin is, talent-wise, is a superstar.
He's playing out of his mind this year.
And he's playing out of his mind this year.
He sacked coach's decision last
year. But you got to remember, even when he's playing out of his mind, there's those big moments. I'm not talking about big games, because he'll never disappear for a whole game. But in big moments in those games, you'd have found yourself on occasion looking for Blake Griffin.
Yes.
And that can't happen. He's got to be that dude because Chris Paul's a 6'1" guard. He ain't Steph Curry going to pull up from 40. Chris Paul is an orchestrator. He runs a show. He's the captain of a ship. It's Blake Griffin's job to elevate himself to that next level.
If Blake had the thing you're talking about, he wouldn't just be a top 5 or 6 player. He'd be even better than that.
Yes.
He'd be in the non-LeBron conversation.
I need him to be that
best player in the league. So I'm not saying that wouldn't be even better than what they have. What I'm saying is we're reacting to Doc right now.
Okay.
And what Doc said on that sound based on the tech and the ejection last night.
Okay.
And to me, the issue there is what I said. Doc, this is your best shot. Do you want to give yourself the best shot, or do you want to stack the deck against you when it's already stacked against you?
That's a fair question. That's a fair question.
All right, we'll leave it there. You guys know what time it is. Trying to keep up with the Joneses. Stephen Jones, the Cowboys CEO and Director of Player Personnel, also Jerry's son, did a video Q&A with Cowboys fans and was asked to name the most difficult Cowboys decision he's had to make.
No question for me, it's been our decision here to play the hot hand and keep going with Dak and have Tony, who has handled this with such class and such professionalism in terms of what's in the best interest of our football team at this moment. But certainly been very difficult for everybody because of all the great things Tony's done for our franchise.
Oh, Max, what does this say about the Joneses?
I think it says really good things, to tell you the truth. Yes, I do. Look, the NFL is ruthless in terms of their efficiency, right? And that's ideally how business works. That business should be very efficient, and they run the team as a business and all that. But there is a redeeming quality about people who not only value loyalty, but reciprocate it. Who have, and this happens even with bad people who play for the Cowboys. You see Jerry Jones come out and defend them and like, dude, you can't defend that guy. Do you know what that guy just did? I mean, how many times are we up here talking about that? And it's because Jerry Jones, in his personal experience, and Marcellus Wiley, my former broadcast partner, happy birthday, by the way.
Happy birthday, Marcellus.
Yeah. So, but Marcellus Wiley used to talk about this. He played 1 year for Jerry Jones. Didn't play well. I mean, for Bill Parcells on the Cowboys. And has nothing but good things to say about Jerry Jones. The people who play for him like them because he has their back no matter what. He's a loyal guy. And you see it in Stephen Jones, too. Now, it's not toward every player all the time. In this case, it's the quarterback, the longtime quarterback. That bodes well for Dak Prescott. That would make me, if I were a player, want to play for the Cowboys, that they not only demand loyalty, but reciprocate it, even when it's unpopular. And I think that's why, and in this case, they handled the whole thing right the whole time. Well, it's Romo, it's Romo, it's Romo. Okay, maybe it's Dak. Okay, now it's Dak. Hey, Tony, can you hold a press conference just telling everyone so we can move on? And what's Romo supposed to say at that point? No to the people who have been that loyal to him? I'm sure Romo, though it was difficult, probably said, in this imagined conversation in my own mind, probably said, I got to do what I got to do for these people. They do it for me. And it is a redeeming quality of the Cowboys and of Jerry and Stephen Jones.
I'm being a little emotional right now because Max was so touching in what he just said. I mean, oh my Lord, the Dallas Cowboys are loyal and they're just so sensitive.
You as cold as ice, Stephen A.
No, I mean, hold on. Jerry Jones is such a wonderful guy, and so is Stephen Jones. I mean, Molly, isn't it touching? Isn't it touching? I mean, are you listening to Max Kellerman sit here talking about how touched he is about the Dallas Cowboys? Are you kidding me? Y'all make me sick with this nonsense. All right, fine. You're a boss, and you know what? This guy has performed for me for years, so because of that, it was such a hard decision. What the hell was hard about it? What was hard about it? Tony Romo's won 2 playoff games in 10 years? That's what's hard? That's what's hard. How about your fan base? How about the people the paying customers that you charge, the exorbitant prices that you charge to come to your billion-dollar playpen? How about that? How about the fact that they haven't had? What's the last time the Dallas Cowboys been in the NFC Championship game? 1995, was that the year? I mean, I'm looking, but I didn't see it. I got my glasses on right now. It was 1990. I mean, refresh my memory. David Sabino, is that true? Is it 1995? I mean, I think that's what it is. Not 1995 is 2016, going into 2017.
Hold on, carry the one.
Which carries the one over, which makes about 21 and a half years, 22 years, okay? 22 seasons you ain't been in a conference championship game with your billion-dollar playpen with all the headlines and everything like that, and we're supposed to sit up here and get all emotional. I mean, just Stephen Jones didn't even have the father didn't even have the decency to put that quote out there. It was the son. What was that, on Skype? Talking to fans and stuff?
That was a tight shot, though.
What was it? What was it?
Stephen A., that's a tough angle for anybody right there looking down like that. What am I missing?
What am I missing? Stephen Jones, it just by far was just the hardest decision that I've ever made. So a guy that wins 2 playoff games for you in a decade, 2 in a decade, that you are paying about $108 million.
Maybe he needed Dak to count up some more wins.
It's so hard. It's so hard. So let me get this straight. Tony Romo getting paid lovely. You know what I'm saying? Hey, he ain't gonna be. There's no issues with him. The checks are coming. I think I remember correct. Checks are coming. Even while you got the back surgeries, even though while you're on the sideline with your Dallas Cowboy paraphernalia, even while you got the headsets on, don't have to take the hits to the back now. Don't have to worry about the broken collarbone now. Lord, the house is chill. And by the way, there's no state income taxes in Texas. I mean, my Lord. I mean, he's getting all that money. Let him come to New York. Let New York or New Jersey get some of those dollars in taxes, okay? But Tony Romo doesn't have to worry about that either.
You know?
And somehow, some way, I'm supposed to be touched.
When people ask our bosses, who do you think wins those debates, Max or Stephen A.? And they're like, well, it's really hard, but, you know, Max beats him, but Stephen A. really does great. They don't really mean that you do great compared to me. They're trying to protect your feelings.
The boss doesn't say that. The bosses are thinking about getting you a new wardrobe, my man. They're tired of damn black and blue suits. They're tired of black and blue suits. That's what they're tired of, okay? They want you to step it up. They want you. When you going to see Max is something like this, Molly, but we won't go there. We won't go there.
Molly, just tell him. Tell him. He doesn't know.
All I'm trying to say is this.
So
are we really supposed to be so
What would you like them to do differently?
No. All I'm trying to say is this. You know what?
Treat
him. Why? Time out. I don't know what this is, but here's my answer. treat him like you would treat any quarterback who won 2 playoff games for you in a decade. That's all I ask. That's all I ask. Is that too much to ask, Mollywood? I don't think that's too much to ask.
They handled this perfectly, and they continue to handle it perfectly.
Max did, Abby Kellerman.
If something should happen to Dak Prescott, if for some reason his play falls off, or you don't wish injury on anyone, but some unforeseen incident should occur, and they need Tony Romo, do they want a Tony Romo who has the vote of confidence of the organization, who feels like they've had his back all along, or do they want a Tony Romo who feels abandoned? They are doing the right thing by their quarterback.
That is a good point for backup situations the rest of the season. That was a very good point.
By the way,
feel abandoned. That's what we said.
And by the way,
we said.
They haven't handled. It's not like they actually didn't play Dak once Romo got better. Right? Had they done that, then I would say, wait, this comment's out of line because Dak had the highest QBR in the most games this season and yada, yada, yada. That's not what happened. They're just paying lip service to Tony Romo to keep his confidence up, and somehow that's a bad thing?
Tony Romo.
Yeah, sometimes Stephen A. wins debates. They need your confidence up.
I'm just saying,
he doesn't have a confidence problem. Don't worry about that.
We talked about, no, I don't. So we talked about Tony Romo, and I just want to make sure I'm clear. We're talking about his feelings.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Tony Romo's feelings.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
Feeling
Tony
abandoned.
Romo, Tony Romo, 6 years.
Yeah.
$108 million.
Feel good about that.
Including,
Keep getting them checks.
hold on, including a $25 million signing bonus. $55 million in guaranteed dollars.
Yeah.
An average annual salary of $18 million per.
He can feed his family this Christmas.
This year alone, his base salary was $8.5 million.
Buy some therapy.
All right.
Feelings
So I'm just sitting there going like this. Really? That's where we are. We're talking about his because you know what?
Stephen A. Smith, you callous.
We don't want him to feel abandoned in case he has to get back in the game. We need him to feel good.
I just want to ask you a question, Mollywood. Yeah. We don't want the $108 million quarterback who's won 2 playoff games in his career to feel abandoned.
No. We need his mind right in case he's got to step in. I'm swayed to Max's side during this argument.
I need to say
it's not all about the money. It's just mostly about the money.
It's always about the money.
It ain't all about the money.
It's mostly about the money. Mostly about the money. It's not all about the money.
All about the Benjamins, baby. It's not about the Benjamins, right? $108 million, $55 million guaranteed, $25 million signing bonus. But we want to sit here and be sensitive to Tony Romo's feelings. Really?
Yeah. And by the way, if I was Dak Prescott, I'd feel good about playing for this organization. Because when I'm old and a young kid replaces me, this is the treatment I can expect.
I would feel. I recall Jerry Jones mistreating Emmitt Smith. I'm just saying.
Yeah, not a quarterback.
I'm sorry. Oh, not a quarterback.
No.
Oh, so now we're going by position.
Yep.
Oh, so it's not the player. It's the position.
Yep.
And you see, because we understand something. 1 minute he's saying it's the player because he brought in Marcellus Wiley, who didn't have that great of a year.
Yeah.
This is what Max said, not me.
Certainly did not.
Okay, so that's what he said.
Did you do that Max voice again?
He didn't have a great year. Right? But Jerry Jones treated me great. But he mistreated Emmitt Smith now. I'm just saying.
Here's the other thing about Tony Romo. When at the end of a running back's career, when they're not good anymore, that's one thing. Tony Romo, when healthy, is still an excellent player. The issue
by the way,
is simply his availability.
Hold on. 3 of the last 4 seasons.
And you said what about his availability?
He's unavailable usually. Right, but now he is.
Oh, really?
His availability is the best ability.
It's Wednesday. What that got to do with Sunday?
Because he's not playing, so he should remain available in case that isn't.
I'm saying
you want his confidence
Max Kellerman has sounded so bad about Tony Romo that even if Tony Romo was playing this Sunday, Max would sit there and say, well, it's Wednesday. Anything can happen between now and Sunday with him.
That's right.
That's what you would say.
That's why he's best served as a backup.
Really, exactly.
Where the Cowboys have him, by the way.
I never said he wasn't best served as a backup.
And that's where the Cowboys have him.
I'm talking about his feelings.
So you don't like the comments they're making supporting him?
I'm saying to you, you seem touched by their feelings for him.
Yeah.
And so do you.
We're playing mind games.
Stephen A. Smith, you can mock everyone's humanity. That doesn't discount it.
Mocking their humanity? Sure. Molly, I'm being cruel, Molly, because $108 million man, $55 million guaranteed. His feelings, y'all. Let me ask the camera folks over there. I'm insensitive. I'm insensitive, fellas. That's what it is. I'm insensitive to Tony Romo. You got to be kidding. Hold on. Let me get my tissue.
If I made $108 million,
feelings too.
I would be
emotional. I'm getting emotional right now, okay? Stephen Jones, Let's go to break.
All right.
I'm just kidding.
108 million.
We get to see the Cowboys play tomorrow, Thursday night football against the Vikings.
Tony Romo's feelings, his feelings, y'all. $108 million. His feelings. Be sensitive.
We don't want him to feel abandoned, okay? Coming up, the second to last college football playoff rankings are out. So is the Big Ten getting too much respect? We'll break those down in a moment. Plus, could Steph Curry be thinking about leaving Golden State and his new super team? His latest comments might give fans in the Bay Area a little cause for concern. Very underpaid by NBA standards. He's due for a nice payday. Curry wants to remain in Golden State barring any curveballs, telling the Wall Street Journal, quote, although curveballs happen all the time, it's hard to see myself anywhere else. Stephen A., what are these curveballs he speaks of?
Well, in my opinion, I have not spoken to the Warriors in recent weeks. I've been busy doing other things, but I'll lock in on them. Profound respect for their owner, Joe Lacob, and what they're doing there. And I can't see any way that Steph Curry would leave Golden State. But I will tell you this. When I hear a statement like that, it comes across to me as a reminder. Yes, I wanted Kevin Durant here. Yes, I'm happy Kevin Durant here. He's averaging 27 a game. I'm averaging 26 a game. He's shooting 57% from the field. I'm shooting 49% from the field. We doing our thing. Between us and Clay, we averaging almost 75 points a game. We good. We don't want to mess this up. But let's make sure we remember whose franchise this is and what my value is. I don't think there's any question that Joe Lacob will do just that. But this is big-time sports. This is the business of sports. And anytime you get a superstar the magnitude of a Kevin Durant, it provides you cushion to make decisions whichever way you want to go, because you know you're going to still be on an elevated level compared to most in the industry. Let's say, for example, and again, I'm not entertaining this because I don't see Steph Curry being gone from Golden State because Joe Lacob is just too smart and the situation is too good and the fan base is too fantastic and the people in Oakland will go ballistic if they ever lost Steph Curry. But let's hypothetically speak for a particular second here. If you are in that situation, let's say there's no Steph Curry, but there's Kevin Durant and Draymond and Clay and the crew. You trying to tell me you still can't be in the upper echelon of the NBA? Of course you can. Sometimes in the world of business, owners use that as a particular excuse to sort of veer left a little bit and try not to give you what you deserve. I cannot see that happening, but we need to be reminded of this, Max. Steph Curry actually deserved more money with his previous contract. He had those chronic ankle injuries that he kept suffering from, and they didn't know about his health. So he ended up signing for a deal where a lot of people would make the argument that he was underpaid because he only get paid like $12 million. He's clearly paid deserving of more. It's just that you didn't know about his health situation and whether his career would continue. So they got over then. I think it's Steph Curry reminding them, you ain't thinking about getting over this time, are you? Because it ain't gonna happen.
I don't think that can be it. And obviously you are privy to more NBA.
Yeah, but I didn't check. So I didn't call about it.
I disagree with that assessment because you're dealing with a league with a max contract. And you're dealing with a league that incentivizes you to stay with your own team at a certain number of pre-specified dollars.
Under the previous agreement, they were negotiating the new CBA.
Right, but even with the new CBA, that ceiling will rise, but there will still be a ceiling at which you can't break through. In other words, this is the most money we are allowed by the rules to offer you over the most years. That is what Steph will get. There's no way he gets under that, even though when that comes up, he'll be 30 years old. He has an injury history. He's small. He's not the most athletic guy, etc. He will still get that. Why will it not matter no matter what Kevin Durant does? What's Kevin Durant shooting from three right now?
44%.
That's above or below where Steph is shooting?
Steph is at 42%.
Okay, it's even higher than Steph. You know why? Because he's playing on a team with Steph Curry. See, Steph, and I think the Warriors, obviously the Warriors realize this, you don't get extra points from shooting farther behind the three-point line. It's not like you get 4 points. So what's the incentive ever to take a longer-range three-point shot? It didn't really make sense at first. If you're not being rewarded for it, but the level of difficulty goes up and the probability of the shot falling goes down. Well, what Steph Curry and the Warriors have shown is not all three-point shots are created equal. Those deep threes that Steph takes has a greater spacing effect on the floor. You say, oh, they shoot the three, they space the floor, stretch four, whatever. But when you shoot it from way out there, that's that many more steps the defense has to take to rotate. It's the reason, though he's not shooting it now, Draymond Green went from a high 20s, low 30s% three-point shooter, for a big, I guess, but we like a little more, or a big-ish guy, to that dude's shooting near 40% last year, right around 38, 40%. That's a killer. When a guy, because those guys are wide open. You give an NBA player, I don't care if he's a center who can't shoot, that extra second, they become much better shooters. And that's what Steph does for this team. And under no circumstances, that's among other things. He's also unselfish, setting off-ball screens and all that kind of stuff. His handles make him a mobile artillery unit, all those things. But that distance from which he can shoot and his unselfish play make everyone around him better.
Couple of things to say here. Number one, if Draymond Green was open last year, you would perceive him as being even more open now. He's shooting 29% from three-point range. It's early. I'm just saying. The point is he was making them last year. He ain't making them with the degree of regularity that he was last year. That's number one. Number two, Steph Curry now has a teammate in Kevin Durant who could have made just as much money, who could have made more money staying in Oklahoma City. He declined. He decided to leave. So you got to remember, it's their right to do what they want to do once they become free agents. That's point number two. Point number three, no matter which way you slice it, it is plausible. I don't know. I haven't checked into this, but I've been told this. I have to check. Steph Curry being with Under Armour, the situation isn't as beneficial for him now as it was then, possibly. In other words, what I'm saying is I shouldn't say it that way. What I should say it is this way. He might be better off somewhere else if it's just about the dollars because of Under Armour and what you could do there, as opposed to being on a team with a Nike rep who's doing what he's doing and what Kevin Durant is doing. I can't conceive of any of this reaching fruition. I look at Steph Curry, I think about the Golden State Warriors. It makes me sick to my stomach. It breaks my heart because they grabbed him one pick ahead of when the Knicks were picking. And the Knicks were going to grab him with Mike D'Antoni. That was their pick. But the Golden State Warriors grabbed him at 7th.
Good for Steph. The Knicks would have messed him up.
Yeah, you know what? But shot makers are shot makers when you are that kind of marksman. And he would have changed the culture of the New York franchise.
Think about Steph for a second.
So I look at it that way. But it is what it is. At the end of the day, what it comes down to is this. I don't see him going anywhere. But I do believe he said barring any curveballs for a reason. And that was to say, don't forget, you need to take care of me.
Put everyone on notice.
I just know that Golden State will take Joe Lacob. The Joe Lacob I know will take care of Steph Curry.
I can't imagine a universe where a team, and you can go through the salary cap ceiling so long as the players already, you'll have their bird rights, where a team doesn't give Steph the most money over the most years they're allowed to, even at the age of 30. At the end of the deal, he'd be 35. We've seen plenty of point guards super effective at that age. The thing about Steph Curry that's unique to me, in NBA history actually, is now it turned out not to be true. LeBron James is better than Steph Curry, obviously. But there was a time in the middle of last season where I watched Steph and I thought in no other era would it be true. It's not fair that it's true. But I think Steph Curry's the best player in the game. Like it's through this trick of shooting the three
he's the greatest shooter I've ever seen.
And there's never been a time in NBA history where the best player in the game is under 6'5", 6'4", is a 6'3" point guard. Even when Nash won back-to-back MVPs, even when Isaiah Thomas was at his best, no one ever looked at those guys and thought, even Allen Iverson at his best, no one looked at those guys and said, that's the best player in the game. And even though it didn't turn out to be true about Steph, he had us wondering that, at least had me wondering that for a hot minute. And that's a special player you don't let go of if you have a choice.
Again, it's not going to be their choice. He's a free agent. Keep that in mind. That's number one. Number two, Kevin Durant is getting paid $26.5 million this year. Klay Thompson's at $16.6. Draymond Green is the third highest paid player at $15.3. Steph Curry's at $12 million. He's only getting $1 million more than Andre Iguodala. His time is supposed to be coming. And also, Kevin Durant has a player option after this year. So Kevin Durant, listen, he's probably going to stay long term, but we can't assume anything with him at this point. He could very well win the chip this year and decide to go elsewhere. Don't rule out anything.
Why does Durant even want to play with Steph? Because he's unselfish. I don't see Steph as that kind of player who leaves town because of something.
I don't see it either.
We shall see.
But he
See about
set
these
curveball
curveballs.
for a reason. He's putting them on notice. Take care of me.
And
He's
Stephen A.,
business.
you like to say, that's my friend. About who? Tim Tebow back in the headlines for
he's got
some
feelings.
good comments.
Stephen A's got
Oh,
feelings.
he's all up in his feelings. He made about his time with the Patriots. You don't want to miss that conversation and what Stephen A. has to say about that subject.
Why you have
Plus,
to bring that up?
we're going to break down the latest CFP rankings and why Ohio State has everybody up in arms. Do they really deserve to be in? We get into it.
Is to rank the 4 very best teams in college football for inclusion into the playoff. We've analyzed, we've gone inside this data in detail, and we've looked at teams side by side. Yes, we put those teams side by side in comparison, but right now, as our rankings show this week, the selection committee believes as of this week that Ohio State is number 2 and that Penn State is still sitting in that 7th spot.
That seems stressful. Well, you heard him. The College Football Playoff Committee has the seemingly impossible task of trying to pick the top 4 teams each week, and this is what we've got with just one more week until the final rankings are released. So let's get you caught up on who's in right at this moment. The outcome of the game, Ohio State-Michigan, had a major impact on the College Football Playoff picture. The double overtime loss by the Wolverines became Washington's gain as the Huskies moved into the number 4 spot. Bama continues its stranglehold of the number 1 spot as it has for each of the last 5 weeks. Following the Tide are Ohio State and Clemson. Michigan, previously in the 3rd spot, dropped to 5th. Now, according to 538.com, Alabama and Ohio State have a 92% chance to make the playoff. Michigan just a 1% chance, and Penn State a 21% chance. And to help us break it all down, Trevor Maddich in the house, our friend. Good to see you as always.
Good morning.
What's up, man? How are you?
Great,
Good to
thanks.
see you. Let's roll.
I want to start with Max here.
Yes, we just had a lively debate about this in the makeup room.
Well, we're about to have it here, too.
You wearing makeup?
Yes, shocking, isn't it?
I thought you were a natural beauty, but you've been exposed. What's your biggest issue with the rankings?
I don't have an issue with the rankings. I like the rankings. I think that people who complain about Ohio State because of a loss in the conference, so they won't be in the conference championship game, you want to try to kind of protect the sanctity and the importance of the tradition of the conferences. I appreciate that, but you also wanted a playoff system, and I think those two ideas are mutually exclusive. The playoff system necessarily devalues the conferences. That's one. 2, Clemson's got one weird loss therein. And by the way, Ohio State looks other than Alabama. They're in their own category. Maybe the best team in the country other than Alabama. They got to be there. Alabama's got to be there. Clemson's got to be there. They've been terrific. And when it comes to the 4th team, if you're looking for tiebreakers, I think the Pac-12 should be represented. I think if it's possible and you're looking for something, have the various major conferences, the power conferences, represented. And there is an East Coast bias against the West Coast, mainly based on the fact that the games start late and stuff. They just don't see it as much. So I'd like to see Washington in. I think they are deserving, at least as much as anyone else. I like the top 4.
Well, I appreciate you coming around to Washington, because Lord knows you fought me enough on that one when I kept talking about Washington for weeks.
Untrue.
But yes, it is true until they got smacked around.
You know this video's recorded,
by
right?
USA, of course. By USC. They got smacked around by USC. That really was a turn off for me. I can understand. So in theory, I don't want to say definitively, like, outspoken about having a problem with the top 4, Trevor. My issue is the Ohio State situation. Not only did you lose to Penn State, you looked suspect against Northwestern. You looked suspect against Michigan State. And that same Penn State team annihilated Michigan State. Now, they also got annihilated by Michigan. You beat Michigan. And when you got a loss on your record that's at 49-10, that doesn't look good when you're considered one of the top 4 teams in America. And so because of that, I sort of understand it. There's just something. For Ohio State, they're the only ones. I'm not suspect about Alabama. I'm not suspect about Clemson. I would prefer to see Michigan in there instead of Washington, even though I've spent a lot of time giving Washington its props and it only has 1 loss to the USC. But where it really resonates with me in terms of being a lot of trepidation is with Ohio State. Lost to Penn State, sloppy against Michigan State, sloppy against Northwestern. I just look at that. And, you know, the game against Michigan, they came back, no doubt, those first 3 quarters. They didn't look that impressive. The greatest argument that I can make on behalf of Ohio State is this. If you want somebody to compete against Nick Saban, you want it to be Urban Meyer. That's about the best argument I can make for Ohio State.
That's fair. Now, the thing is, the current ranking, I'm okay with, because we don't have conference championships factored in. They haven't happened yet.
Right.
What worries me is the way the committee is speaking right now through their spokespeople. And that is saying that Penn State is way behind Ohio State and talking in such a way that they may well put in Ohio State over Penn State without putting Penn State in. So if that happens, and assuming that Penn State wins the Big Ten championship, the committee can't look forward, but we can. If Penn State wins the Big Ten, then they will have beaten Ohio State head-to-head. They will have won the division Ohio State is in. They will win the conference that Ohio State is in. And if the committee puts them in, Ohio State now, in over Penn State, then what they will have done is marginalize what has made college football great for the last 100 years. Who wins the conference matters. Who wins head-to-head matters. And the committee will say that those things are merely minor occurrences to be applied as tiebreakers only if they can't separate teams in other ways. And if they do that, it would do tremendous damage to college football.
I have a couple questions about that. First of all, what I liked about college football before the playoff system was it was a de facto, at best, double elimination regular season playoff tournament, really. Couldn't have 2 losses. Sometimes you couldn't have 1. And that heightened everything. And so with a playoff, that is diminished somewhat. There's no way around that.
Sure.
But my question to you is, okay, if your argument is Penn State should go if they belong there,
If they win the championship.
Fine. If they win the championship and they go, fine. If your argument is because they beat Ohio State head-to-head, in other words, if Penn State wasn't in the same conference as Ohio State, then you'd be okay with Ohio State going to the Final Four, basically, to the playoff. But simply because of this quirk where they're in the same conference, that eliminates Ohio State if Penn State doesn't deserve to go?
I would suggest that quirk is a different word that I would use. I would suggest the reality that they're in the same conference. And therefore, you've got to compare them head-to-head, because if only one team comes out of the Big Ten, you've got to decide between those two, not if Penn State were in a different conference.
So are you saying Penn State? Okay, this is what I need to know from you, Trevor. If Penn State wins the Big Ten championship,
yes,
do they belong in the playoff? Because if the answer is yes, then I'm okay with you saying that. But if you say no, they still don't, and therefore that eliminates Ohio State, that is paradoxical to me.
Well, paradoxical it may be. But if Penn State wins the Big Ten...
First of all, y'all need to explain what paradoxical means to most of America.
It's kind of like...
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
It means if the statement is true, then it can't be true.
Okay.
Go ahead. So, it's true, and it remains true for this reason. If Penn State wins the Big Ten, I'm not saying that they should be in the playoff because there are other teams in other conferences. I'm saying that they should be in the playoff if Ohio State is in the playoff. I'm saying that it would be okay to put Penn State in. It would be okay to put both Penn State and Ohio State in. It would not be okay to put Ohio State in and leave Penn State behind if they have over Ohio State head-to-head, won their division,
then what you're
won their
saying,
conference with similar records and similar strength of schedule.
Then what you're saying, the reason I can't process that is what you're saying is your insistence on retaining the kind of integrity of the importance of conference play.
How horrible is that? That's terrible.
Why don't you think that conference championships matter?
They don't anymore. It's not like they used to. I agree they should, but the reality is they don't. Because what you're saying is if Penn State, in your opinion, doesn't deserve to go, then even if Ohio State does, they can't go because you won't put Penn State in.
You got it. That's exactly right.
I
feel like Abbott and Costello. Who's on first?
Penn State's on first.
We got it. But let me ask you this question. A couple of years back, TCU was number 3.
Yes.
Ohio State was number 6.
Okay.
TCU had won the last game of the regular season, so did Ohio State. Ohio State somehow leapfrogged above them.
Yes.
Them and Baylor were on the outside looking in. There was no explanation for that by the committee. Last year, Ohio State lost a game, okay? Oklahoma lost, but they lost a 7-5 West Virginia team, but somehow they were put in there, but Ohio State wasn't put in there. 2011, Alabama lost to LSU 9-6, but they still played LSU in the national championship game because somehow, some way, despite the loss, they were still put up there. So what I'm saying to you is that you've got situations where conference champions weren't necessarily put into the mix to compete for a national championship. So why was it not a big deal to you then, but it's a big deal to you with Penn State now?
It was a big deal to me. I hated it that Alabama was put in the BCS championship game because that LSU matchup was the game of the century in college football. A huge buildup, a massive emotional payoff, positive or devastating, depending on what side you were on. And it was an epic shift in the balance of power in the national championship picture until it wasn't. Until somebody said, oh, never mind, that was just an exhibition, we'll have a do-over.
Okay, now, so here's the question. Okay. Well, I'm sorry, go ahead, finish.
No, just to say this, those two teams finished with very similar resumes. Penn State would have one more loss than Ohio State, just one. Ohio State would have one more win over a team likely will finish in the top 10, just one. But Penn State will have head-to-head in conference championship, but you've got to decide which one's more important. I'm saying that the committee would do damage to college football by using head-to-head in conference championship as a mere razor to split hairs at the end of the process.
So put Penn State in the playoffs at whose expense?
Ohio State's. If you're not going to bring both.
Okay, see, here's my issue. Trevor, do you want a playoff?
Yes.
I think those two ideas, the playoff on the one hand and the retaining of the importance of the conference championship and the kind of tournament-style regular season, I think those are mutually exclusive. I think if you have the one, you're devaluing the other.
Now, this is the first thing I wrote down when you spoke at the beginning. Smart stuff. I disagree with it, though. You said that the conference championship importance and the playoff are mutually exclusive. I agree with you that the 4-team playoff diminishes to a degree the conference championships because they're not absolute anymore. I get that. But I think you've got to be very careful to not diminish it so far that you make them irrelevant. And that's what I fear the committee will do if we get to this hypothetical scenario. And the way they're talking, they're heading in that direction. And so the cure could be worse than the disease if you take conferences and you diminish those conference races on a national level. That's one of the things that's made college football what it's been for the last century.
Well, that is a very well-reasoned position, which is why we wanted you on today, Trevor.
Trevor Mattis, dropping knowledge, as always. So good to see you.
Thank you,
Thank you for being with us.
2001, Nebraska. What didn't they lose? They gave up 62 points one game in 2001. Somebody reminded me of that.
I wasn't born yet. In
2001?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm very young.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, I don't remember that.
They lost the last game to Colorado. I'm looking at it
Genius,
right here.
baby.
November 23rd, 2001. They lost to Colorado last game, 62-36. And still, the committee robbed Colorado when they would be playing in that national championship game. And Nebraska went up against Miami in the Rose Bowl and lost 37-14.
But see, you've got the poll system back then and the BCS system. Now what you've got is a committee that has conflicting criteria within itself.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's what's scary because what precedent they're going to set and then opening Pandora's box.
Yeah,
exactly.
But that's exactly what the NCAA wants because they get our attention, because they got us talking about them. That's what they want.
That's the other stuff. This is the good stuff about college football.
Right.
This is one of the things that makes it awesome. This stuff.
Okay.
Is that a real beard?
It is real. What is
Because I saw you in makeup, and I don't know if they applied the beard.
Real?
They just put makeup on.
Trevor, thank you so much for being with us. Speaking of college football greatness, Tim Tebow had some ups and downs in the NFL, folks, but apparently he had some careful choice of words, big expectations for himself with his time with the Patriots. We'll tell you exactly what he said after the break. Do not miss it. He's been making the rounds with the release of his new book, and he opened up on WNYC's Brian Lehrer show about how disappointed he was to see his time in New England come to an end. Lombardi dreams unfulfilled.
When I got to New England, it was, it felt like this is where I'm supposed to be, you know, and this was exciting. Okay, I get to play behind one of the best of all time. And then when he retires, Tom Brady. And then when he retires, it would be awesome. Play for Belichick, win Super Bowls. And then it didn't go the way that I wanted it to.
I feel for him. Stephen A., go.
You know, it's interesting. Tim Tebow. How can I put this? Because he's my friend. So I just want to understand that look, I don't root against Tim Tebow. I truly do not. But the boy can't throw. The man cannot throw the football. What would we be saying if if somebody else who threw the football with 46% accuracy, 46% completion, because that's what he did, what would we be saying if they said, I thought I was going to be the successor to Tom Brady? What would we be saying to them?
Nothing.
Stop
You know
your
why?
lying.
We wouldn't be,
that is a lie.
We wouldn't be talking about
You know what?
them.
Let me tell you something right now.
At least he's honest, Stephen A. At least he's telling the truth.
Oh, he's telling the truth?
Yeah.
He's telling the truth.
He's admitting it. He's putting himself out there. He's being vulnerable to the world.
I need to go this route again.
And he's living
You stop mocking everyone's
and you know what,
humanity.
Stephen A., he's dreaming a new dream now. And he's living it.
Listen. Tim Tebow is an inspiration. Tim Tebow is a good guy. Tim Tebow was a fantastic college player.
You don't seem inspired.
I'm not inspired about anything he's discussing
He's your friend.
as it pertains to football. He's my friend.
In the words of Houdini, with friends like that, you don't need enemies.
Yeah.
Friends. How many of us have them?
Apparently not Tim Tebow. It's Stephen A. Smith.
All I'm trying to say to you is this, man. I mean, we got to be honest with our friends. If we can't be honest with our friends, who can we be honest to? It's important, Max. You got to be honest with your friends. You can't sit up there and listen. What kind of a friend would I be if I told this man he could throw a football? And so knowing that you cannot throw a football on the professional level, knowing that it has been proven, knowing that the stats are there, the video's
Don't
there.
make us bring up Denver.
How in God's name could you? I swear, I tell you right now, I'll go upstairs and get somebody, try to get somebody fired. They show
There
me
it is.
that.
Oh, yeah. There it is.
Oh, yeah.
Can't do it in the NFL.
This is unbelievable.
Oh, wait, is that the regular season? Oh, no, it's not.
Oh, to the playoffs.
The worst moment of my life when I saw that. I never looked at my woman the same because she was with me after when that play happened, and I was just like, you know what? You might need to go. You might need to go.
You need to end your relationship.
It's bad luck.
Don't take it out on her.
Bad luck. I'm just saying. Molly, that was the most devastating experience I've had in the world of sports in years. I mean, I still haven't recovered from that, okay? Don't get me started. I'm in a good mood. But my point is this, Max. Friends look out for one another. Friends tell people this stuff. This dude is in baseball, batting 194.
He hit a home run.
Really?
He did.
That's where we going.
That's where
we going.
I'm actually impressed he's hitting 194.
This is unbelievable.
I just want you to know that.
Mollywood in the house. You got to be kidding me. I mean, the man.
There it is. Look at that.
Swing. First swing.
I don't make it up. I just
The
say that.
man's batting 194.
I got tape.
194. All right, so baseball clearly ain't his thing. All right, even though he went on The View and swore that he would keep it going because he's inspirational to us all. All I'm trying to say to you is this. You have the audacity to sit up there knowing that you couldn't even complete 50% of your passes, talking about how you thought you were going to be the heir apparent.
I could see him high-fiving Robert
These
Kraft.
are folks here who work with us. Why y'all looking at me like this? This don't make no sense. This man thought he was going to succeed Tom Brady? Come on, y'all.
I wish we could turn the camera on him.
Would we stop, please?
Maybe the best.
Oh, my Lord.
Maybe the best autobiography I've read from a political figure is The Audacity of Hope by President Barack Obama.
Yeah. You have to believe in yourself
He
before
has the
anyone else
audacity
can.
of hope. Yes, he does.
Preach, Max.
And when you say the man can't throw 46% completion, batting $194 in the developmental league, whatever, you're right. What would we say about someone else? It would be different. You know why? We wouldn't be talking about them.
Because we wouldn't care.
Because Tim Tebow has qualities that inspire people. And one of those qualities is his lack of pragmatism. Now, that doesn't mean to suggest that everyone should be
the ultimate pragmatist.
Well,
Go ahead.
I don't mean to suggest that that's a great example in terms of everyone living their lives with an utter lack of practicality and realism. But there is inspiration in Tim Tebow that people can draw on in their own lives.
Have you read The Secret?
He believes in himself.
Anything can happen.
No, The Secret is ridiculous. We're not talking about The Secret right
I love
now.
The Secret.
Don't bring it. No.
Can I
Keep that. You should have kept that secret. You should have kept that secret.
Can I address your audacity of hope?
Yes, please do.
Is far gone as it appeared. As miraculous as it was that we finally had a black president in the United States of America. Do you realize that in this great country of ours, in this day and age, that Barack Obama had a better shot at being the president than he or most other people had at being an NBA player? Did you realize that? Do you know why that is? Because shaking hands, kissing babies, being smooth and suave, looking good, highly intelligent, highly accomplished, and being about bringing people together instead of being divisive, ultimately could get you votes. Can't get him a jump shot. I thought Barack Obama loved playing basketball. Didn't you see him? Didn't you see him out there with those Secret Servicemen acting like they were really playing defense when in fact they
And
knew
guess
better?
what he did?
When in fact
He
they knew better than
dreamed a
to
new
defend
dream.
against the president, and they let him shoot those jump shots. Couldn't make it to. Wouldn't have made it to the NBA now. Most people wouldn't. You know
Well, what
why?
did he do?
Because we're not gonna. I'm just saying.
Dreamed a new dream.
No, what I'm saying
But
to
if
you
he
is
didn't
dreamed
have-
a new dream.
Yeah, and he
Hold on,
became
hold on.
president.
That's where we are.
This is
That's
his
where we
new
are.
dream.
He was
Stephen A.
He was a junior senator before he became president. That means he made it to a point of elected
Stephen A.
office. It wasn't a
You're
formal
talking about-
disclosure. Tim Tebow, that spring football, baseball. Just stop
You're
it. Just
talking
stop it.
about-
He played in
Just
high
stop it,
school.
y'all.
You are talking about the absolute, the best relative meritocracy we have, which is sports.
That's right.
However, I'm talking about something bigger than that.
Really?
You don't have to
I
pattern
don't
yourself
find-
after
I
Tim
don't find
Tebow
anything
or
bigger than a
live your
meritocracy.
life in some
I don't
kind
find anything
of
bigger than a meritocracy.
unrealistic fantasy about that involved in inspiration.
I don't
But
find-
you can draw from Tim Tebow inspiration. How?
I'm
Barack
inspired.
Obama, no matter what you want to say about it being more realistic that he be elected president than play in the NBA, which is clearly true, he never gets to be president if he doesn't have the audacity of hope.
Yeah.
Listen. You
And
can
Tim
hope.
Tebow
You can hope.
will fail
Time
at
out,
baseball.
time
He
out.
will not make it to the
Time
major
out.
leagues,
You
but
can
he's
hope.
giving it a shot.
You can hope.
And people
Hold
draw
on.
inspiration
Stay
from
with
that.
me. Stay with me, Max
Okay.
Kellerman. You can hope. You could dream. But it also helped that your predecessor was once a C student in college, and he was the president of the United States of America, while you are sitting up there at Harvard and being the head of Harvard Law School and all of this other
All
stuff.
you're saying,
All I'm saying to you
in
is that-
retrospect,
listen,
there are reasons that events occur.
No, in retrospect.
They're not always
hold on,
obvious
hold on.
in the moment.
In retrospect,
You gotta pursue it.
In retrospect,
Anything
hold
can
on,
happen if you
hold
believe
on.
in yourself
In
first.
retrospect, what I am saying to you is that it wasn't just hope and audacity. It was credentials that Barack Obama had. He had credentials.
Of course.
That is not
We're
Tim
just
Tebow in
teasing
baseball.
you.
Tim Tebow doesn't have-
In baseball.
Tim Tebow
in
doesn't-
baseball,
Of course we know
in
Barack
baseball,
Obama's more
Does he
qualified.
have
Come on.
athletic credentials? Does he, yes or
Not
no?
for baseball.
One of the greatest college
Not for
players of all
baseball.
time.
Not for baseball.
Right, but because he
Not for baseball.
But because he is an inspirational, famous figure, he is afforded opportunities that others don't get, and people resent
So
it.
it's totally okay with you that Tim Tebow thought he was going to succeed. Tom
Totally
Brady.
okay with me that he
That's
thought
all right.
it.
That's all-
He'll
that's all
be
right.
disabused
That's
of
all
that
right.
notion through reality.
Through reality.
But good for him for pursuing his dreams.
Through reality. I understand. I stand educated, Max. I
good.
stand educated once a
To
year.
read
like
the
you.
audacity of hope.
No, I stand educated.
Melt your cold heart.
I want. Can I hold on? Can y'all put the camera on me? I want to look at America and I want to say I am sorry. I apologize because, damn it, I should have known better than to think of squelching or squashing Tim Tebow's thoughts and dreams that he could succeed Tom Brady. Oh, I am so disrespectful. I am so
You
wrong.
are.
I apologize,
So
Molly.
disrespectful.
I apologize.
Done with
My
you.
bad.
Done
My
with
bad.
you.
Read the
My
president's
bad.
book.
I'm sorry.
Speaking of hope
I'm sorry, y'all.
and
I'm sorry.
audacity, coming up, Tiger Woods is back, y'all, and he's playing this weekend at the Hero World Challenge and plans to win despite having literally the worst odds, according to Westgate Las Vegas Superbook. I'm sensing a theme here. So will he ever win again? Plus, did you see this last night? J.R. Smith completely abandoned the idea of playing defense when mid-game decided to dap up Jason Terry on the Bucks bench. We'll discuss how bad of a look this is and his strange comments post-game.
It's my alter ego, so I just, it was a gift from Ohio State, so yeah, why not?
Does your alter ego have a name?
Yeah,
What is it?
I can't tell you.
Since I've been away from the game for so long and I've made a lot of different changes in my game, but the mindset's still the same. And whether that physically and also equipment, practice schedules, training, all that has evolved. The mindset of competing hasn't. And that is to go out there and try to beat these guys.
Tiger Woods speaking in advance of the Hero World Challenge, where the 14-time major champion is set to return after a 15-month absence due to 2 back surgeries. Max, will Tiger ever win another major?
Yeah, I think he will, actually. And, for all the critics back when, who said when he had the world by the tail, that he would break Nicklaus's record, and that was a foregone conclusion. Those critics have been proven wrong, I think. And the critics who said, hey, slow down, we don't know how the trajectory of his career is going to go, and a lot of them were called haters at the time, they've been proven right. He ain't catching Nicklaus. He ain't going to win 4 or 5 more. But 1 more? Yeah, he could do that. Look, the irony of Tiger's career is that he is now, as he ages, and is no longer the same guy, playing in an era that's better than any era ever because of the Tiger Woods effect. Young players, athletes for the first time, fathers were putting golf clubs in their hands, in their sons' hands, and mothers in their sons' hands because, hey, look, Tiger Woods, he had that kind of influence. And so all of a sudden, not only is he aging, but he's playing against young, athletic, excellent players by golf standards. They're not athletes compared to real athletes, but by golf standards. And so it's going to be more difficult for him. But can he win 1 more? I remember watching Nicklaus, and I'm not a golf fan. I'm a fight fan. I like exciting sports, and real sports, by the way. Let's be honest. But
Golf
I remember, not really. We can have it's not a sport, but we can argue that on a different day. No, it's not.
It's not a violent sport.
Yeah,
it's not a passive.
Yeah, if you can't measure the athletic ability of an athlete by the game they play, it's not a sport. But we can argue about that another time. Nicklaus was 46 years old when, on the back 9, he shot a 30, 1986 Masters, and overtook Greg Norman. And that's something that can happen in golf. A guy like Tiger Woods, who was known for that last round, right? He was clutch under pressure. A guy like that, playing a game like this, can catch lightning in a bottle one afternoon and shoot a miraculous round of golf as long as he can hang around in a tournament and win. I think that will happen, just the kind of law of averages, based on the number of tournaments he'll play. I think that will happen before he's done, and he will win 1 more.
You're talking about what could happen. I'm talking about what I believe. I don't believe that Tiger Woods will win another major, period. I wish I was wrong. I wish that he was somebody that I thought would catch Jack Nicklaus. I do not see it happening. And I'm going to lean on Max what I religiously leaned on. I think that he is psychologically and emotionally warped. I think he's gone. I think the height of his greatness wasn't just about his physical ability, his ability as a golfer. It was also the mental aptitude that he had. He not only was stronger mentally, he intimidated the opponents mentally. He intimidates no one now. It's gotten to the point where contemporaries actually feel sorry for him. They either feel sorry for him or they don't like him and think that he's gotten what he's deserved. He's gotten his comeuppance because of his transgressions, which, by the way, were none of their damn business. At the end of the day, what it comes down to is this. Tiger Woods lived a lie. And I'm not talking about it's none of their damn business in terms of them commenting on what's been reported, because we all do that. I'm talking about how judgmental they've been in those circles in private, all of acting like, choosing to judge him beyond the pale. Tiger Woods was wrong. Tiger Woods transgressed. He did all of those things. He lived in flat-out absolute lie. And he perpetuated that lie and manufactured it into hundreds of millions of dollars. When it all came crashing down on him, you would think your family being fragmented, losing your wife, etc., all of those were the most devastating things. In my mind, I believe what devastated him most is that he felt completely exposed. That if any of that had happened in private and no one knew anything, Tiger Woods would have been just fine. It's the fact that everybody knew and was now looking at him as someone who was the complete antithesis of everything he marketed himself to be that helped him generate those millions. That kind of lie and being exposed for that lie diminished and shrunk him psychologically to such astronomical proportions that I don't believe he can recover from that. And because of it, I believe he will not win a major, because the major, remember, he's won other tournaments, but he knows he's measured for the majors. The majors is when you're going up against the very best that is out there. And to squelch them and to minimize them, you have to have such incredible intestinal fortitude. I believe he is no longer, I think he's devoid of that, and that's what it is.
There's a lot of truth there about the way athletes, I think, oftentimes, not all of them, not the psychotic ones, but many of them, need to feel that they have kind of a moral high ground that they deserve it in some way. You see a guy at the free throw line, sometimes you get the feeling like, does this dude think he deserves it?
He doesn't.
Right? Maybe Tiger doesn't. And that's something he might be able to get over. We'll see through the years. But in terms of the field being intimidated, if you just shoot a great round of golf, doesn't mean if they're intimidated. It doesn't matter if they're intimidated or not. You got the low score, you win. And I remember Fat Jay Haas at like 50 years old outplaying Tiger Woods over the course of an afternoon or two when Tiger was in his prime. So if that can happen, an old Tiger Woods, I think, can certainly outplay the field over the course of an afternoon.
Well, I would say to you, I hope that you're right.
46.
I sincerely hope that you're right. I hope that I'm wrong because I root for Tiger, and I think the game of golf is better for all of us when Tiger is in it playing at an elite level. No one could dispute that. But I don't play golf like that. I might play golf 3 times a year for crying out loud. I am telling you that the golf aficionados that I have spoken to all believe that his aura intimidated the competition so much it affected the way others played, particularly at crunch time. That is no longer happening against Tiger Woods.
No, now it appears to be broken.
It was like the Mike Tyson effect, right? The intimidation. Of course, no one's getting hit, running, jumping, throwing, nothing. But for some reason, it intimidated those very tough golfers.
Who's the guy that Tyson knocked out? And Sheldon or Selden? Yeah, when he didn't get hit, but still went down and stayed down for 10 seconds and then got up like everything was all right. But he was hurt. I mean, he didn't hit him. He missed him. And the guy got down and wouldn't get up. Nicholas Walters wasn't that bad, Max, but it was pretty damn close this past Saturday.
On a lighter note, gentlemen, in the bizarre news of the night, J.R. Smith allowed an uncontested dunk while he hugged Bucks guard Jason Terry in the second quarter of the Cavs loss. Here's J.R. or his alter ego after the game.
It's my alter ego, so I just, it was a gift from Ohio State, so yeah, why not?
Does your alter ego have a name?
Yeah.
What is it?
I can't tell you.
Oh, boy.
Do you have to walk out the door? Do you have to walk out the door backwards when you get home now, or are you good?
No, I still do. So,
you still do it?
For the team's sake, not just myself.
So you'll do it when you get home?
Absolutely.
Let's get back in our feelings, Stephen A. Mm-hmm. How should we feel about this?
I would say this. It's not a big deal in the grand scheme of things. The video was absolutely hilarious for us to watch. It was hysterical. Not as funny, however, as Shaq and the Fools thing on Otto Porter last year. I think it was March of 2015 when Otto Porter is standing on the wing frozen while the guy he's defending goes to the opposite side of the wing before he even realizes he's gone. I would encourage everyone to go and watch Shaq and the Fool, Google it up, and watch Otto Porter.
We just watched it a few times in the commercial break.
Let me tell you, that is the funniest stuff that I've seen in years on a basketball court. It wasn't quite that funny.
Slow motion.
But it wasn't quite that funny.
Close.
But it was pretty damn close watching JR give that to somebody while his dude went in for a dunk. Having said that, on a more serious note, I love JR. Good dude. Playing great defense, by the way. Game 7, I don't know if they win Game 7 in the finals without JR hitting those 2 big threes. He deserves props. He deserves credit. He deserves his money. But I got to tell you, had I seen that and I was the coach, I was Tyronn Lue, I'd have benched JR for the rest of the game. I'd have benched him for the rest of the game. I might have benched him for the next game. You can't.
Now you're going to lose the game anyway.
You can't be that irresponsible on the court. Can't do that.
Is that a set play, you think? Like Jason Kidd? Like, look, Jason, come over here. Dap him up, and then, cut.
Yes.
Hilarious. Cut to the basket.
It was hilarious.
I mean, this is the thing about J.R. Smith.
So a teammate scratching their head like, you realize what you just did? Yeah, it was like that. Yeah,
but that's the thing about J.R. Smith since he's been on the Cavs, even before. He was always a pretty decent percentage player. Like, he could play. Not just like explosive athletically in that, oh my God, did you see that way? But he could shoot and he could do a lot of things. Or some things very well anyway. But he didn't play defense, and he didn't show up in the playoffs. And how serious a player was he really going to be? And it's really to LeBron James's credit.
Yes, it is.
LeBron James's staggering greatness that he then takes a guy like J.R. Smith, and due to LeBron James's presence and his influence, J.R. becomes the best perimeter defender on the team. I mean, it's insane. That's how great LeBron is. But now he's turned JR into a good player. And sometimes he will still have mental lapses, and that's what you got to live with JR Smith.
I will want to say this, though. JR is not having a good year thus far.
Right.
He's shooting 30% from the field.
That'll change.
I'm just saying, it better change. That's my point. J.R. Smith is better than that. And J.R. Smith, just like he evolved and started putting the ball on the floor last season, instead of just relying on his set shooting or his jump shooting, now he puts the ball on the floor, attacks the basket so he can hit free throws. He needs to shoot better than 30% from the field, better than 32% from three-point range. He's averaging less than 9 points a game. And also, let's keep this. J.R. is one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet in your life. He really is a good guy, but I'm telling you right now, you got to play better. You got to be more focused.
You got to stay off the what? Who? What's the, I don't know how to read
mental lapse.
I have no evidence that JR would do such things. And even if I did, I wouldn't tell.
Yeah.
I'd wait for you to get busted. Then I'd say something.
Okay.
But not before.
On that note.
Not before. We'll never
Just
do
get
that.
what? Coming up, the Jeff Fisher saga continues as one of the Rams execs is saying he's done a model job with the team. We'll break that down after the break. But before we do, here's a little taste of Stephen A. yesterday.
Congratulations to the Los Angeles Rams organization. You now have a great reason to get rid of Fisher right now. Eric Dickerson's not coming back. Please, who the hell do you think you are? Get this man out of town. Who do you think you are? I cannot believe
Just for the record.
Since I've been away from the game for so long, and I've made a lot of different changes in my game, but the mindset's still the same. And whether that physically and also equipment, practice schedules, training, all that has evolved. The mindset of competing hasn't. And that is to go out there and try to beat these guys.
Tiger Woods speaking in advance of the Hero World Challenge, where the 14-time major champion is set to return after a 15-month absence due to 2 back surgeries. Max, will Tiger ever win another major?
Yeah, I think he will, actually. And, you know, for all the critics back when who said when he had the world by the tail, you know, that he would break Nicklaus's record and that was a foregone conclusion, those critics have been proven wrong, I think. And the critics who said, hey, slow down, we don't know how the trajectory of his career is going to go, and a lot of them were called haters at the time, they've been proven right. He ain't catching Nicklaus. He ain't going to win 4 or 5 more. But 1 more? Yeah, he could do that. Look, the irony of Tiger's career is that he is now, as he ages, and is no longer the same guy, playing in an era that's better than any era ever because of the Tiger Woods effect. Young players, athletes for the first time, fathers were putting golf clubs in their hands, in their sons' hands, and mothers in their sons' hands because, hey, look, Tiger Woods, he had that kind of influence. And so all of a sudden, not only is he aging, but he's playing against young, athletic, excellent players by golf standards. They're not athletes compared to real athletes, but by golf standards. And so it's going to be more difficult for him. But can he win 1 more? I remember watching Nicklaus, and I'm not a golf fan. I'm a fight fan. I like exciting sports, and real sports, by the way. Let's be honest. But golf, I remember, not really. We can have it's not a sport, but we can argue that on a different day. No, it's not.
It's not a violent sport.
Yeah,
it's not a passive.
Yeah, if you can't measure the athletic ability of an athlete by the game they play, it's not a sport. But we can argue about that another time. Nicklaus was 46 years old when, on the back 9, he shot a 30, 1986 Masters, and overtook Greg Norman. And that's something that can happen in golf. A guy like Tiger Woods, who was known for that last round, right? He was clutch under pressure. A guy like that, playing a game like this, can catch lightning in a bottle one afternoon and shoot a miraculous round of golf as long as he can hang around in a tournament and win. I think that will happen, just the kind of law of averages, based on the number of tournaments he'll play. I think that will happen before he's done, and he will win 1 more.
You're talking about what could happen. I'm talking about what I believe. I don't believe that Tiger Woods will win another major, period. I wish I was wrong. I wish that he was somebody that I thought would catch Jack Nicklaus. I do not see it happening. And I'm going to lean on Max what I religiously leaned on. I think that he is psychologically and emotionally warped. I think he's gone. I think the height of his greatness wasn't just about his physical ability, his ability as a golfer. It was also the mental aptitude that he had. He not only was stronger mentally, he intimidated the opponents mentally. He intimidates no one now. It's gotten to the point where contemporaries actually feel sorry for him. They either feel sorry for him or they don't like him and think that he's gotten what he's deserved. He's gotten his comeuppance because of his transgressions, which, by the way, were none of their damn business. At the end of the day, what it comes down to is this. Tiger Woods lived the lie. And I'm not talking about it's none of their damn business in terms of them commenting on what's been reported, because we all do that. I'm talking about how judgmental they've been in those circles in private, all of acting like, choosing to judge him beyond the pale. Tiger Woods was wrong. Tiger Woods transgressed. He did all of those things. He lived in flat-out absolute lie. And he perpetuated that lie and manufactured it into hundreds of millions of dollars. When it all came crashing down on him, you would think your family being fragmented, losing your wife, etc., all of those were the most devastating things. In my mind, I believe what devastated him most is that he felt completely exposed. That if any of that had happened in private and no one knew anything, Tiger Woods would have been just fine. It's the fact that everybody knew and was now looking at him as someone who was the complete antithesis of everything he marketed himself to be that helped him generate those millions. That kind of lie and being exposed for that lie diminished and shrunk him psychologically to such astronomical proportions that I don't believe he can recover from that. And because of it, I believe he will not win a major, because the major, remember, he's won other tournaments, but he knows he's measured for the majors. The majors is when you're going up against the very best that is out there. And to squelch them and to minimize them, you have to have such incredible intestinal fortitude. I believe he is no longer, I think he's devoid of that, and that's what it is.
There's a lot of truth there about the way athletes, I think, oftentimes, not all of them, not the psychotic ones, but many of them, need to feel that they have kind of a moral high ground, that they deserve it in some way. You see a guy at the free throw line, sometimes you get the feeling like, does this dude think he deserves it?
He doesn't.
Right? Maybe Tiger doesn't. And that's something he might be able to get over. We'll see through the years. But in terms of the field being intimidated, if you just shoot a great round of golf, doesn't mean if they're intimidated. It doesn't matter if they're intimidated or not. You got the low score, you win. And I remember Fat Jay Haas at like 50 years old outplaying Tiger Woods over the course of an afternoon or two when Tiger was in his prime. So if that can happen, and old Tiger Woods, I think, can certainly outplay the field over the course of an afternoon.
Well, I would say to you, I hope that you're right.
46.
I sincerely hope that you're right. I hope that I'm wrong, because I root for Tiger, and I think the game of golf is better for all of us when Tiger is in it playing at an elite level. No one can dispute that. But I don't play golf like that. I might play golf 3 times a year, for crying out loud. I am telling you that the golf aficionados that I have spoken to all believe that his aura intimidated the competition so much it affected the way others played, particularly at crunch time. That is no longer happening against Tiger Woods.
No, now it appears to be broken.
It was like the Mike Tyson effect, right? The intimidation. Of course, no one's getting hit, running, jumping, throwing, nothing. But for some reason, it intimidated those very tough golfers.
Who's the guy that Tyson knocked out? And Sheldon or Selden? Yeah, when he didn't get hit, but still went down and stayed down for 10 seconds and then got up like everything was all right, but he was hurt. I mean, he didn't hit him. He missed him. And the guy got down and wouldn't get up. Nicholas Walters wasn't that bad, Max, but it was pretty damn close this past Saturday.
On a lighter note, gentlemen, in the bizarre news of the night, J.R. Smith allowed an uncontested dunk while he hugged Bucks guard Jason Terry in the second quarter of the Cavs loss. Here's J.R. or his alter ego after the game.
My alter ego, so it just, it was a gift from Ohio State, so why not?
Does your alter ego have a name?
Yeah.
What is it?
I can't tell you.
Oh boy. Do you have to walk out the door? Do you have to walk out the door backwards when you get home now, or are you good?
No, I still do. So,
you still do?
For the team's sake, not just myself.
So you'll do it when you get home?
Absolutely.
Let's get back in our feelings, Stephen A. Mm-hmm. How should we feel about this?
I would say this. It's not a big deal in the grand scheme of things. The video was absolutely hilarious for us to watch. It was hysterical. Not as funny, however, as Shaq and the Fools thing on Otto Porter last year. I think it was March of 2015 when Otto Porter is standing on the wing frozen while the guy he's defending goes to the opposite side of the wing before he even realizes he's gone. I would encourage everyone to go and watch Shaq and the Fool, Google it up, and watch Otto Porter.
We just watched it a few times in the commercial break.
Let me tell you something. It's the funniest stuff that I've seen in years on a basketball court. It wasn't quite that funny.
Slow motion.
But it wasn't quite that funny.
Close.
But it was pretty damn close watching JR give that to somebody while his dude went in for a dunk. Having said that, on a more serious note, I love JR. Good dude. Playing great defense, by the way. Game 7, I don't know if they win Game 7 in the finals without JR hitting those 2 big threes. He deserves props. He deserves credit. He deserves his money. But I got to tell you, had I seen that and I was the coach, I was Tyronn Lue, I'd have benched JR for the rest of the game. I'd have benched him for the rest of the game. I might have benched him for the next game. You can't.
You're going to lose the game anyway.
You can't be that irresponsible on the court. Can't do that.
Is that a set play, you think? Like Jason Kidd? Like, look, Jason, come over here. Dap him up, and then, cut.
Yes.
Hilarious. Cut to the basket.
It was hilarious.
I mean, this is the thing about J.R. Smith.
So a teammate scratching their head like, yo you realize what you just did? Yeah, it was like that. Yeah,
but that's the thing about J.R. Smith since he's been on the Cavs, even before. He was always a pretty decent percentage player. Like, he could play. Not just like explosive athletically in that, oh my God, did you see that way? But he could shoot and he could do a lot of things. Or some things very well anyway. But he didn't play defense, and he didn't show up in the playoffs. And how serious a player was he really going to be? And it's really to LeBron James's credit.
Yes, it is.
LeBron James's staggering greatness that he then takes a guy like J.R. Smith, and due to LeBron James's presence and his influence, J.R. becomes the best perimeter defender on the team. I mean, it's insane. That's how great LeBron is. But now he's turned JR into a good player. And sometimes he will still have mental lapses, and that's what you got to live with JR Smith.
I will want to say this, though. JR is not having a good year thus far.
Right.
He's shooting 30% from the field.
That'll change.
I'm just saying, it better change. That's my point. J.R. Smith is better than that. And J.R. Smith, just like he evolved and started putting the ball on the floor last season, instead of just relying on his set shooting or his jump shooting, now he puts the ball on the floor, attacks the basket so he can hit free throws. He needs to shoot better than 30% from the field, better than 32% from three-point range. He's averaging less than 9 points a game. And also, let's keep this. JR is one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet in your life. He really is a good guy, but I'm telling you right now, you got to play better. You got to be more focused.
You got to stay off the what? Who? I don't know.
Mental lapse.
I have no evidence that JR would do such things. And even if I did, I wouldn't tell.
Yes.
I'd wait for you to get busted. Then I'd say something.
Okay.
But not before.
On that note.
Not before. We'll never
Stitches
do
get
that.
what? Coming up, the Jeff Fisher saga continues as one of the Rams execs is saying he's done a model job with the team. We'll break that down after the break. But before we do, here's a little taste of Stephen A. yesterday.
Congratulations to the Los Angeles Rams organization. You now have a great reason to get rid of Fisher right now. Eric Dickerson's not coming back. Please, who the hell do you think you are? Get this man out of town. Who do you think you are? I cannot believe
Just for the
this.
record.